My partner of 3 years has been in jail for about a month. I mentioned to her that I had started a guilt journal in module 2. And the next time I came to visit her, she showed me that she had done the same activity. Earlier on the phone, she had mentioned that she had felt guilty about something she could have told me a while ago. I heard the ego immediately say she wants to have sexual experiences with other people, but just doesn't want to lose out on this relationship. I honestly can't clearly tell if that's my ego projecting its own desires or intuition. Anyways, after hearing her say, I don't want to tell you on the phone, I'd rather tell you in person, rather than saying, okay, babe, great, next time we'll see each other, you can just tell me what you feel guilty about. That would have felt extremely ridiculous. I found myself saying, if we truly know we aren't this person, why make any of it real? Do we really need to confess sins or guilt to our partner? What draws the line between witness shameful behavior, yet knowing you are truly guiltless? Witnessing the actions happening. I know that experiencing feels very real, and that I just recently am ridding myself of a lot of guilt that I've been unnecessarily self-imposing. It feels great to know truth and be there. Some part of me also says it feels good to hear or go through a story, I guess make it real, and then come out on the other side standing strong in your truth. And even if you fall to the illusion, it isn't real anyways. Almost as if I want to be tested, I feel this can be a sneaky ploy of the ego. Thank you.
So in terms of understanding how our mind works, let's look at that first thing that you said, of where the mind went when your partner said, hey, I have something I want to tell you, but I want to tell you in person. Funny how the mind went straight to the worst possible possibility in the mind's world. Why would it do that? Why would it not think of a million other options that wouldn't be the worst thing ever? There could be some really great possibilities of what she wants to tell you. You know, she hasn't been, treating you like she really knows you deserve. She hasn't been as aware of just how grateful she is for you. And she feels guilty that she hasn't, been as involved in the relationship, and she wants to turn a new leaf. Like, that's just as possible that she could say. So why does the mind want to go to the worst possibility? And if you've completed at least module 1, then you probably know the answer, right? Because it wants the juiciest, most tantalizing possible thought to get your identity, right? To just get you to grab and go, oh no. And as soon as that thought means something to you, you've juiced it up. You've given juice to the ego, and it goes, yes, I'm a little more powerful now. So it just wants to shock you, scare you, terrify you, worry you. Any reaction at all that causes you to take that thought seriously is the mind gaining energy from you. But this isn't like, oh, bummer, like I was really worried about that thought. I guess I just powered up my ego a bunch. No, awareness is infinitely more powerful than the ego. And as soon as awareness kicks online, ego's days are numbered. Just the actual awareness that you presented in the question of, but I know that's what ego wants to do. And is it even necessary to go that route? Look, you clearly already have a high degree of awareness of how the mind is trying to play this game with you. So the mind will take some energy from you, you'll suffer, and then become aware and take that energy back. And this kind of push-pull happens with the ego. But the more we understand ego, the less those thoughts mean something to us. And that's the important part, that over time, you have to see that every thought your mind thinks is a lie. It's not true. It can't be true. Thoughts can only at best point towards the truth. But truth is direct experience or nothing at all, right? So a thought can't possibly be true. It's always based on all of these presuppositions that we have to accept before we can give any life or reality to the thought. So in terms of, is it necessary to confess your sins to your partner? My take on this is that if it helps you accept and forgive something in yourself, then it may be necessary. Like if a betrayal of trust has happened, right? If sort of the sacred container of your relationship has been broken, then you'll likely not find it possible for you to feel real inner peace again until you actually confess that act to your partner. Because if you lacked the integrity to be trustworthy and onerous of a sacred container that you two beings have agreed upon, we're going to share this intimacy, this sexual energy with each other and cultivate it together. Well, if that's the promise we've made each other, and I have betrayed that promise, then I'm not going to be able to feel integrous or authentic again until I express that, right? So the karmic alleviation for a lack of integrity is to have the integrity to tell the truth and be honest. But none of that defines you. And that's what you have to keep in mind. It's not meant to reinforce the sin that was committed. It's not meant to say, oh, I really am guilty, so I better confess because the universe is angry at me. No, it's something you're doing for yourself, for your own self-actualization, right? I didn't know that there was a part of me that lacked integrity to such an extent that I would betray somebody that I love, that I would cheat or whatever it is. So I'm going to go make up for that karma by telling the truth. That's how spiritual evolution happens. So it's always for your benefit. And it's never something we do to make recompense with source. But as for the thoughts that torment you about your partner's alleged sins, remember that every thought mind creates is just for the purpose of seducing you, as we said, to get you to fall back into personhood, back into the dream self. So if you're suffering for any reason, it's only because you have clearly forgotten that you are eternal, right? You are now defining yourself by your life experiences. And so when you know that you're eternal, there's an intuitive recognition that nothing that happens in this dream incarnation defines me at all or affects me at all. So what if my partner might say something like that? What does that have to do with me? That's her own karma she's confessing. That has no bearing on who I am. In order for me to think that what my partner is going to say has some effect on me, I have to think I'm a body in time and space, finite, lacking, separate, limited. I have to assume all of those roles for that thought to hurt. And so let's take the hurt as a reminder to wake up from that dream. Oh, wow, something in this dream is hurting me. I must be dreaming. Part of me must be asleep still. So I desire awakening. That's all we need to do. We just need to desire truth. And that is the magnet that draws the grace of source to us and allows awakening to actually happen. If you don't desire it, the source won't force it upon you. And the grace of our suffering is that it does give us motivation to want freedom. So when you know that you are an immortal being dwelling in a mortal body, that's all you need to be free, is to stay with that understanding. Don't be the mortal, be the immortal. Go to the place in you that stands far beyond the mind and make your home there. Like Jesus said, the fool builds his house on sand. It may be a nice sandcastle, but guess what? As soon as a wave comes, it's gone. In the same way, when we make our home in that which is transient, impermanent, limited, not self-sufficient, you better believe something in life's going to knock that sandcastle over and we're going to suffer. If that happens, we can only take that as a reminder that, oh, I must have built my house on the sand. Let me go build a house on the rock that doesn't come or go, that's not subject to time and space. Make your own eternal being the place that your mind rests all the time. And suffering is just a wake-up call that you're not resting in that. So the mind has no power over your being. It has only temporarily taken your attention away from your being, but it doesn't have any power over your being. I think we said this last week. You can have the recognition also, I am the source of the mind. So this mind that is noisy right now, that is trying to disturb my peace with all these thoughts, she might say this, what if she says that? can you just have the recognition in that moment that none of those thoughts could be there without you being there first? Yeah. Without me, the mind couldn't even arise like this. Without my existence, the mind could never have a thought. Something about having that recognition causes a powerful shift, in the same way that, let's say that there's 3 buckets upside down, sort of like the magicians will do. They put a ball in one and they switch it around. Let's say there's 3 buckets and someone whispers in your ear and says, you're about to choose which bucket to open. Someone whispers in your ear behind you and says, hey, the bucket on the left has $100 in it. You go, ooh, $100. That sounds really good. And you're looking at that bucket, far left, $100. Yes. And then someone comes over on the right side of you and says, the bucket on the right, though, has $1 million under it. How much attention now do you pay to the bucket on the left? It loses interest, doesn't it? That is what happens when we meditate on our being. It takes all interest away from the limited self, from the person, the story character, the dream self. It's not interesting anymore when I know that there's a dimension in me that is timeless, eternal, unlimited, unbounded, vast and infinite like space, completely devoid of a problem, completely full of bliss all the time. Whoa, I'll take that over the story character any day of the week. But if you don't know that that's inside of you right now, how could you be interested in it? How could you care more about that than the juicy, dramatic story your mind is serving up? You can't. So if you notice you have attention on a juicy, dramatic story, once again, just take that as a cue. Oh, part of me doesn't know who I am. Part of me is still asleep in the dream. But once you train your attention through meditation to be focused, fixed upon that over which the mind has no power, the mind will eventually dissolve into that.